Matt Schlapp, chairman of the Conservative Political Action Coalition, author of The Desecrators, out next month. Matt, good to see you. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Is there a break between MAGA leader and the MAGA values?
Run that by me one more time. I mean, are you saying that people who are MAGA are not pleased with Donald Trump?
I'm saying that President Trump is endorsing somebody for Senate who does not seem to necessarily align with MAGA values. And, for example, Mike Pompeo, about as loyal to the president as you get, just endorsed David McCormick.
Yeah, no, it's true. In these tough primaries, like in Ohio, you had MAGA supporters, Trump supporters that had different candidates that they liked, and the president came in and picked J.D. Vance and took him from, like you said, third to first. I think Pennsylvania is another tough state where a lot of us know Dave McCormick. He's a friend. I know his wife, worked with his wife. And, you know, for Donald Trump to pick Dr. Oz, that's hard for those McCormick supporters. So it's a fair point that, you know, primaries are pretty tough, inter-family squabbles, and we got to get through it on the other side.
You know, you and I have talked many, many times. I would ascribe many positive qualities to you. Diplomat is one that I have yet to see, but definitely answered. I'm thinking about President Trump. Republican Inquirer poll on the Trump effect on Oz. Most GOP voters are aware of Trump's endorsement in this race. 69% say this has not changed their opinion of Oz. 22% say it does make them feel more favorably toward him, compared with 8% who feel less favorable. Here's President Trump from last weekend at a rally talking about why he got behind Oz.
I think Oz is doing well. Does everybody like Oz? I love Oz. Who cares? I think he's going to also do better in the general election. So, you know, there are a lot of reasons to endorse people. I'm a little bit different kind of a Republican.
And Oz is a different kind of Republican in that he's got this issue that he voted in the Turkish elections. That was what Mike Pompeo was talking about. How does President Trump end up uniting the Republican Party going forward if he's endorsing candidates that are so divisive?
I don't think that's fair to say that Dr. Oz is so divisive. I think, look, he is an all-star, very famous, wealthy guy with high name ID. J.D. Vance was a famous guy, wrote a best-selling book, a great book, and you know, they had real accomplishments before they got into politics. I think the bigger story here is not Trump wading into primaries in a way that's counterproductive. I think the bigger story here is, why do Republicans have so many great candidates running for a Senate that doesn't do much? You know, I'm amazed at how many CEOs, people of great wealth and success, are running for the Senate. We haven't really seen this before. So I actually think it's a great sign for the Republican Party that we have these big, vigorous primaries with a lot of talented people. We haven't had that in these cycles before.
Yeah, and there's certainly a tempering that comes from that, both of the candidates and a purifying of them as they get to the general election. Obviously, you hope that the primary doesn't wound somebody. In terms of what we're going to hear from the president, it's interesting. You know, President Trump loved to take credit for things. He took credit for the sun coming out on his inauguration, of all things. And yet, the biggest accomplishment, perhaps, of his presidency just happened this past week with the apparent news that Roe is going to be overturned. This is what he was elected on. And yet he and so many of his supporters haven't taken a victory lap. Why is that?
Well, because I think it's unwise, and I'm not going to do it either. I think there's too many people crowing over the fact of what the Supreme Court's going to do when they haven't even decided what they're going to do yet. I think the leak is an abomination. I think the fact that Joe Biden hasn't criticized the public publication of these justices' home addresses, some of them with young kids, some of them we know well. And it's an abomination what's happening. I think Joe Biden is trying to manipulate what the Supreme Court is doing with this decision. He should be quiet. I think we should all just let the court do its will. And by the way, they could do a lot of different things. Just because one draft opinion gets out to the media doesn't mean that's where the court will be. We don't know yet.
You know, I think it's actually really fascinating, the discipline and sort of the sort of calm nature of Republicans. There really has not been any spiking of the football, so to speak, during this time. You mentioned this issue about the protests at judges' homes that have been called for this weekend at the justices' houses, and the lack of the willingness by the White House to condemn that. And I'm wondering if the reverse had been true during the Trump administration, if there had been calls to protest at the homes of, I'm thinking of Chuck Schumer or of other Democrats. Democratic Supreme Court justices say between the November election and January 6th, what the Democrats would have thought of that then.
Well, you know, we had this. Remember, Ted Cruz famously was caught on video. He's at the dinner with Heidi, his wife, and you know, this crowd of Antifa, BLM supporters disrupted him. This has been happening to Republicans over and over again. The left is very good at these types of protests, and I think most Republicans and conservatives want to be home with their families. They don't want to be out like getting in people's faces. I know that this happens from different perspectives, but this is what they do. This is a tactic. This is a purposeful tactic for any justice who's kind of concerned about going as far as Alito to make them feel disquieted with going along with the idea of overturning Roe v. Wade, which is not even, I know it's controversial politically, but from a constitutional standpoint, this is the clear thing to do. Abortion is not even in the Constitution. Roe v. Wade was made out of whole cloth, and if
I think
Roe v. Wade is pulled down, it does not mean does not mean that abortion is made illegal.
I understand.
It simply means the American people get
Matt,
to decide what happens.
As we've been reporting, no argument there. Matt, it was good to see you. We know that your lovely wife was not able to join us tonight, and as I said to her, I could not think of
Sorry about that.
I know we could not think of a better stand-in than you. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you.
Thank you, Leland.
All right. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.